maintenance live stream. Today we're getting started feeding. I've done a little bit of maintenance already, but I'm feeding small clickweed larvae right now. Got a bunch of cut up mealworms, superworms for them. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. I did write down some talking points this time that I would like to go over, just so that I have something to talk about while we're streaming. So, first of all, though, I would like to announce that I do have an upcoming collaboration with Aquarimax Pets. Rest of Aquarimax Pets has invited me to another collaborative video, so I won't say much more than that, but that is in the works, so I'm excited about that. But alright, first topic of today. Actually, you know what? I'll save that until there's more people. But alright, so first topic of today. Kyle from Roach Crossing about I want to say a week ago. I sent pictures of some Aloides species that Kyle had sent me to Andrew Johnston, and Andrew Johnston wrote back to me. And some of the Aloides I still need to get better pictures of to cinch the IDs. But one of them is a larger species of Aloides that Kyle sent me from Mount Hopkins, Arizona. That the males of which have very long muck rows, which is, in layman's terms, an extension of the elytra that points out at the very end of their elytra. So looks like they got a little a spike poking out of their butt. So I had a male and a female, supposedly of that species, and the male is clearly that species, Aloides eschnolti, because he has the muck row. Females don't have the muck row, so. But the female looked a little odd to me on arrival, because yes, females of that species do lack a muck row, but even in species where males have that elytral extension or something unique about them, and the females don't, in Aloides, otherwise the morphology tends to be pretty much identical. Same pronotum, some species, even the females also have prefemoral spines like the males do. This isn't the case for most Aloides, but some do. And Eschnolti is one of those species that does. The females do have prefemoral spines. This female completely lacked prefemoral spines, and even more so, though, it lacked usually females in species of Aloides where the males have prefemoral spines, which is a spine on their forearms, basically. Even in species where males have it but females lack it, females usually have a little bit of a bump. So you can see it's like a vestigial spine on the females. Obviously quite muted, not nearly as exaggerated as it is in males, but still very clear. And this female, this supposedly Aloides eschnolti that Kyle had sent me, did not have the slightest bump or prefemoral spine or anything on her prefemora, which is her profemora, which is a little bit of a red flag, especially for something from subgenus Aloides. I'm pretty sure every female from that genus that I've seen personally has at least the little bump on their prefemoral. So that was a little odd, but I didn't really think that much of it. But that in combination with the fact that the pronotum is quite a different shape from the males, with more rounded interior margins versus the more acute interior margins of the male, and the elytra and overall skeleton texture on the female is a lot smoother and glossier than it was on the male. So I sent pictures to Andrew Johnston, and he kind of confirmed my suspicions that, unfortunately, the male is definitely Esches schnoelti, but the female is a completely different species, likely a completely different subgenus, probably uh, an Aloides longicollis female or something else in that subgenus, Cysta. So that also explains why I did see her oviposit, but no eggs have hatched. Pretty sure it's literally a unmated longicollis female. So that kind of sucks. And Kyle has no idea how that happened, how that female got into his colony. The rest of his adults in that colony that he still has are Esches schnoelti. He sent me pictures, and I was able to confirm that they are indeed that species. But yeah, it's weird. But so I got unlucky with that. So that a useless, defunct pair of Aloides that can't produce anything. But Kyle still has them. Hopefully, he can get me larva of the Aloides Esches schnoelti, because it's a nice large species with long elytral extensions on the males, and the females are quite nice as well. So definitely a species I want in my collection, just, you know. And they also have a very limited range in southern Arizona. It's a primarily Mexican species, but there's a population of them in Arizona, but it's a pretty small population, restricted in range, so it'd be very nice to have them established in captivity here. What else? So that's that whole Aloides ordeal, which is pretty funny. I also did send pictures and voice audio, chirping audio of my Grylus species Fort Morgan, which you can hear chirping in the background right now, to taxonomist David B. Weissman, which I've had a lot of correspondence with over the years regarding Jerusalem crickets, Amypelmatus, but he is also an expert in Grylus and has revised the genus at least once, and he does a lot of work on them and North American Orthoptera in general. So he tentatively ID'd them as Grylus firmus, but apparently there's at least two genetically distinct populations within the firmus species complex, essentially. One in Florida and the surrounding states, and one in Texas and the surrounding states. And those two are genetically quite distinct from each other. But he doesn't have any samples from Alabama or any good intermediary populations of what would be firmus. So my next generation of adults, I'm going to send him some adult pairs so you can genetically analyze them and compare them to the other firmus populations and just see, which one they're more closely allied to. Perhaps they are genetically distinct from the other two populations as well, which would be kind of cool. So, yeah, but for now, we do have a tentative ID for the Grylus species Fort Morgan, Grylus CF firmus. So, that's pretty cool. Apparently, it's a very variable species firmus, even within the Texas population has a ton of different color forms based on the range, which may or may not eventually be considered different species from each other even, but they're at least all more genetically closely related to each other than they are to the populations in Florida and the surrounding area. So yeah, some interesting stuff going on with those field crickets for sure. And apparently, to add to the confusion of that species complex and why he is working on them and why they definitely need work done is because apparently Grylus firmus has been recorded hybridizing with Grylus pennsylvanicus, but that cross apparently only works one way. I think it's male firmus to female pennsylvanicus, but it might be the other way around. But so there are hybrid populations probably in the wild, at the very least in laboratory conditions it's been done. I think he did note that there might be. I actually don't know. I didn't read into that part of the paper he sent me quite as thoroughly as I should have, but just some more interesting stuff. That whole genus is kind of crazy. So, but yeah, so these big old Alabama Grylus I have from Fort Morgan are Grylus CF firmus. So nice to put a name to them, even if it is a tentative ID that may change in the future if that species is, revised. But pretty cool. And if I'm burying these cut up superworm pieces just ever so slightly beneath the surface of the substrate, that seems to be the best way for them to get to it. And I like putting them up against the sides of the deli cup so that I can see feeding activity if tunnels are being made to the food, But yeah, there's a bunch of Elaeosunealis larvae, a few, only 4 Chalcolipedius smaragdinus larvae that I was able to coax out of those females I got earlier this year. And what else? Oh, and 2 Elaeus patricus larvae, which may be all I get from my Elaeus patricus female. I'm kind of pissed about that. I think that the Elaeus patricus, the weird thing about the Elaeus patricus is that they have their final abdominal segments are very reminiscent of that of Chalcolipedius, and they can be sexed in the same way, whereas other Elaeus can't sex that way, and they have a different shape. Because on the females of Chalcolipedius and Elaeus patricus, they have very fuzzy butts, and it's like a very circular shape, not pointed at the end. Circular, very hairy, densely covered in setae. I feel like that body shape in Elaters might be a signifier of a very specific form of oviposition in said species. Because Alan was mentioning how he set up his adults, and he said he set them up with crumpled paper towel, which is about the only thing we've been able to get Chalcolipedius to consistently oviposit on. They'll oviposit on some barks, but they seem to be very picky about it. And they're very picky about the exact folds in the paper towel as well. But so in the wild, they must lay into some very specific type of bark, or perhaps on dead logs, specifically where the bark and the log meet. They may oviposit in there. So basically, they present the same challenge for oviposition as Chalcolipedius, I'm pretty sure. Elaeus patricus, that is. And I did not set my female up with that in mind. I set her up like any other old Elaeus. I gave her a couple pieces of bark just so she wouldn't constantly trip over the substrate, and I gave her substrate. Half of the substrate was coconut fiber, half was flake soil. And because Elaeus usually they'll oviposit in just in the substrate, and they're not even that picky about the substrate. But so I think my mistake was not treating her more like a Chalcolipedius, which I didn't know I should have, and I should have gave her some crumpled up paper towel. And guess what? Alan gave his adult, when he first bred his, he gave his female crumpled paper towel in their setup. So I think that's where I screwed up. I've given her crumpled paper towel now to try to get her to oviposit in that, but I do not know if I'm too late. She's not super old looking, but she doesn't look that young. Not nearly as young as she looked when I got her, so I'm a little afraid I may have screwed up that species, so that really sucks if that's the case, but I did not realize that would be the thing. Over here, guys, this is Sweet Home, Alabama. I wake up and I see this. But yeah, so I may have screwed up with the Pachacus in that regard, but hopefully she's still young enough that now that I've given her some crumpled paper towel hides, hopefully she'll actually use those to oviposit, but I do not know. She's still eating and stuff, so I mean that's a good sign, but yeah, I don't know. Down. And usually I freeze up a bunch of like Compsodies and then I just use those to feed these, but I got a lot of super worms on me right now, so it's like, why not just cut up a bunch into little bite-sized pieces. I'll tell you why not, it's gross, but I did it anyways. For my precious click wheels. Well, next subject I might as well start talking about. You may notice I have a link in my in the description to this live stream. Hopefully it will show up if you look into the description. That is a link to an iNaturalist sighting that deeply concerns me that I found the other day while scrolling through there. Of what to me clearly seems to be hybrids between Princessia van Werrebecki and Gromphorhina portentosa in Madagascar. And it's in the sightings from the southeastern tip of Madagascar, which is the natural range for Princessia van Werrebecki. Gromphorhina portentosa should not be present in that area naturally. However, due to humans, paving roads, carrying like lumber back and forth between locations, hissers are very likely being spread outside of their natural ranges and being allowed to mingle with other populations and species of hissers, so that kind of sucks. It looks like we have accidentally created hybrid hissers in the wild now. And because, I mean, the sighting in particular shows 3 individuals. I think it's 3. One looks like a normal male Princessia in terms of patterning and everything, and the other looks like a normal female Princessia as well. And then one is just a Gromphorhina portentosa looking individual, completely orange, but it does look a little like muddy to me. But if you look at the Princessia looking male in the picture, it has no prenodal notch, which is typically an indicator of having been hybridized with portentosa or some other Gromphorhina that lacks that notch. So that, like, I have Princessia, and like the smallest minor males I have still have at least a very shallow notch, but that one in that picture does not have a notch at all in its pronotum, so it clearly seems to have been hybridized. So yeah, we really do, and I think I just saw Ellen bring that point up. Let me see. Yes, we need someone to go. Yep, yeah, we really do need to chart out an expedition to go to Madagascar and just get all the pure species we know of and bring them into the hobby before the perhaps inevitable outcome of them all getting hybridized with each other due to humans, screwing with the habitat and making previously geographically isolated populations not so isolated anymore. So yeah, it really sucks, the loss of that genetic diversity. So yeah, it is a bummer, but it is something I noticed on iNaturalist now, and it's like, oh great, so that's a thing now. That's fantastic. Also, somehow I miscounted and I'm 1 superworm chunk short, so I need to decapitate a small Aloides larva. I'm just gonna dump that into this last cup. So yeah, we need to go to Madagascar. I think I saw that one European breeder among insects or whatever on Facebook, who sadly doesn't ship to the U.S. Just went to Madagascar, and they posted a picture of a very large Elliptorina laevigata that they found in the wild, which is neat. But not that we need that species in the hobby, but they did say they were going to try to bring some stuff out of there, so hopefully they find smaller nymphs of new hisser species for us, because that'd be really awesome. But we'll see. Yeah, have Kyle set up a GoFundMe. Have him bring me along. I would love to go to Madagascar so badly. For those Leozinterra, yes, Leozinterra, and I can't say something. There's something I know about something, a type of Hisser Madagascar, but I can't say anything because it's unpublished information that's not been released yet. But when it is, oh boy, yeah, we were basically, yeah, there's undescribed stuff in Madagascar. Undescribed hissers. We need them. We need all the hissers. Leozinterra, though, definitely highest up on my list, as well as, whatchamacallit. There's a population of Ailuropoda and Sinus, the flathorn hissers, that are like bright red, like all over. Red and yellow all over. In some more montane areas of Madagascar. I really want to get those as well. And then true Grumphodorina portentosa would be nice too. It's weird. So like portentosa, I mean portentosa is probably a species complex. Species complex / very variable species. I don't know the line drawn between species and hissers is very vague, especially when they all can hybridize and create, fertile offspring. Is kind of odd, but basically holotype type portentosa look very different from the portentosa we have in the hobby. The portentosa we have in the hobby are much more similar to the description of Grumphodorina piscia. Yeah, they're a much closer match to Grumphodorina piscia. I'm not about to say we should start calling all our portentosa piscia, because that would just be crazy. But it might be true. But then there's a weird thing too. I was doing a lot of research into that, and I just kind of gave up because at some point someone put out a paper talking about like different hisser species and like the differences between portentosa and piscia, and they had members of both in culture, but the piscia just looked like portentosa. There's like very slight differences between them and the portentosa in that paper, and neither look like holotype portentosa. Both, in my opinion, were a match with piscia, so I don't really know what the deal is with those, to be honest. But in any case, holotype type Grumphodorina portentosa have coloration almost more similar to the species unidentified, or even kind of close to the big black Princessia. They got like that dark coloration with some lighter side striping on the abdominal segments. But obviously the pronotum is Grumphodorina shaped, not Princessia shaped, and they're absolutely enormous as well. So eat those. There's a whole bunch of Elliptorina we don't have. Ateloblata, which are the smallest hissers. We don't have those. There's so much there. True Grumphodorina grandidieri. I want true Grumphodorina grandidieri just so like people can just shut up and stop calling tigers Grumphodorina grandidieri. I can be like, hey, here's true grandidieri. Okay? Nothing in the hobby has ever been Grumphodorina grandidieri. Here's what they really look like. Shut up and That's like the main reason I want Brandon Harry in the hobby. Just so people stop calling other things them, because once you see what they look like, it's like, oh yeah, no, these look nothing like tigers or whatever. But yeah, we need all the hissers, and we have very few of them right now. On that note, Ellen, by the way, if we do fail with fucking Andromeda Princessia, I do know one other person who is breeding them in Europe right now. And it's someone who has wanted to trade with me for years, and I just keep putting it off, but next year. So basically, if we fail with the Andromeda, I can probably get them back from that person. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So there is hope. Right. Thank God, what's his secret? Well, see, that's how I found out, because I had apparently messaged him like, I messaged him like 6 months ago or whatever, asking him how he kept them, because it was he and his professor that first introduced them into the hobby. They legally collected them from Madagascar and brought them back for research. Then they gave them to Nico at the Cafarnarium, and they got rid of their culture. They got rid of most of the roaches they kept, but then I think like the year 2022, they got them back from Nico at the Cafarnarium, and I asked them like 6 months ago, hey, how are you guys keeping yours? All of us in the US are not doing well breeding them. And he's like, well, that's weird. I just keep them like I keep all my other Princessia, and I just got babies from them a couple weeks ago from ones that I got from Nico last year. So I know he's breeding them and he's successfully bred them, but his care advice was keep them like every other Princessia. And that has been everyone's advice on how to keep them. So there is no secret. They don't know. They don't know what they're doing right. I don't know what we're doing wrong. They just keep them like they keep all their other Princessia. So that's annoying. But should be able to get them back at the very least. I don't know. Maybe something happened to these ones while they were in transit and they got sterilized or something. At this point, I have no idea. Yeah, they don't like the U.S. and its healthcare system. Yeah. They came across the border and they just like, no. This country sucks. They're practicing. They're on strike because of the reproductive rights issues going on in the U.S. They're like, nope. Yeah, no, I don't know why they're not breeding, but it is very odd, and it almost makes me think the ones we got were like something was wrong with them, or like I don't know, really odd. It's the oddest part is that they just do not they're not even aborting use, right? That to me is like the strangest part. Actually found one of my older females dead the other day, and yeah, no aborted use, no nothing. So yeah, what is it? He's to give birth so don't become a U.S. citizen. Yeah, God, who wants to be that, right? No, I screwed up my tripod. Well, you guys have a lower view now, but whatever. Yeah. So, that kind of sucked, but at least I do potentially have another source for them if we completely fail with them, which kind of seems likely, but who knows. At least all hope is not lost. Okay. Well, that's the click beetles done. It took like half an hour. Yeah. And, alright, next topic though. Tagaloblata. So, the Tagaloblata species Okinawa, it's in the hobby right now. Might be 2 species, might just be 1, but basically, the long-winged adults in that colony are present in both males and females, and the Microepterus adults, which are true Tagaloblata, are also present in male and female. I had initially thought the females were the ones with Microapterus wings, and the males were the ones with the Macroapterus wings. But then I found a pair of Microapterus adults mating, and I found males and females of the Macroapterus ones. So, and some species do just have very variable wing lengths. This is crazy variable. Usually when there's variable wing length in like both sexes or in one sex, the wing variability is Macroapterus to Brachyapterus. Macroapterus to Microapterus is a pretty big jump, and the very abdominal morphology between the Microapterus and Macroapterus adults is very different as well. So I'm thinking they're 2 different species. Somehow, 2 different species in the same culture of roach that's been cultured for several years now, that breed apparently at the same rate. But we'll see. I've isolated adults of Microapterus and Macroapterus adults, and if those isolated adults only produce offspring that mature into adults of the same wing length as them, then obviously it's 2 different species. If it's mixed, then, well, it's just a really oddly variable species. If they are 2 different species, though, that's pretty cool, because that's 2 species in culture instead of 1. And the Microapterus ones would be Tagaloblata. The Macroapterus ones, I have no idea. Maybe an Alactus species. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. But that would make the Tagaloblata even like better for use as feeders, though, because that would mean that no life stages can climb or fly for Tagaloblata. So that's great. That would make them even better, slightly larger, but better in terms of feeder use than Compsognes. So that'd be really cool. And they seem to breed pretty fast, so I really do hope it's 2 species. And then the Alacta are just a neat little micro-roach that, I assume they're Alacta. That's my best guess. They may be something completely different, but they look like Alacta, kinda. But, yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. Only you asked about a facies. I know, right? That's what I thought. But as soon as I realized we might have 2 species in one culture, I was like, come on, these 2 can randomly breed together just fine and coexist, even though they inhabit like the same niche, which is so rare, and breed in equal quantities. But Euplastabata facies couldn't have survived alongside Euplastabata diafauna in culture. That really sucks. Really got unlucky there, but I mean, hey, what can you do? But, yeah. So that's interesting, though. Just a weird little tidbit. And other weird roach news. And this is my last talking point. We've already burned through them so fast, and I've got nothing else to talk about. So the Varia... I forget the locality. But so those new long-winged orange-spotted Daria we have in culture, that at first I was like, oh, those look like they're probably Daria naturalis. But then genitalia... someone dissected the genitalia of them and was like, hey, these more closely match Daria ereperta. Well, the taxonomist actually got a hold of some specimens and dissected them themselves, and they're like, yeah, no, these aren't described yet. These are something completely new. So they're still not described yet, obviously, but that species in culture is actually an undescribed Theria species. Another long-winged one for the books, so that's pretty cool. So that's awesome. When those eventually make their way here to the U.S., that's gonna be pretty cool to have an undescribed species. We do have locality information for them too. I just did not. I don't remember the name. It starts with a P. The locality, but yeah, somewhere in India. But it's pretty cool. Just people want mix them with T regularis. Oh, it'll happen. Now these both have orange spots. They can keep the orange ones together, right? Yeah, I'm getting every. I think I just got regularis and then the dominoes, whether they're Bernhardti or Peteveriana, who knows. But I got those from Brandon, and I'm getting Ole Grangini from Kyle soon. I'm trying to get all the various species so I have pure cultures of all of them, because I've been seeing a very concerning number of both just straight up hybrids being sold, and then also just people selling Theria and posting pictures of their big driving colonies, and there's adults of multiple species in there. And it's like, oh god, you're kidding me. People love making hybrids. So that's, yeah, bull crap. But, whatever. This hobby is really going down the shitter. Yeah. I had a feeling it was gonna happen at some point. But yeah, so now I'm gonna try to secure pure colonies of all of them. And yeah, because eventually it might start to get hard to find non-hybrids, and with those it's really difficult to tell if they've been hybridized until you get adults, right? So that really sucks. Much easier for people to unknowingly sell hybrids, even people who care about it. Yeah. It's just not great all around. Oh, okay. Maybe a little bit more water on this one. What else? I should be getting some new camel crickets soon from multiple sources. Some new Cealtophilus, some new Pristocealtophilus. So I'm kind of excited about that. What else? Oops. I still need to send larvae of these to Andrew Johnston. I don't know if Kyle wants larvae of these Trogloderus. Trogloderus? Yeah, Trogloderus Skillmanny. Okay, ask him about that. Oh. Okay. Oh, yeah. Here. Ay. This is slightly annoying. None of the Aloides obscura larvae that I have put into pupation have pupated yet, which is annoying. But they should be full grown. So I don't know why they're not pupating, but here's another couple I gotta toss in. Pupation. Yeah, these have been a real pain in the butt compared to most avoiding species. Oh, I did isolate a bunch of Aloides Longopolosa larvae as well. And I'm just gonna start rearing those separately from the adults, because, yeah, I can't. The sand just keeps drying out in the adult's main enclosure, even after increasing the substrate depths. And, like, the very bottom of the substrate will still be moist, but that's apparently not enough for the larva to survive. You need more humidity than that. So, yeah, I isolated a bunch of the Longopolosa larvae. I'm keeping them separately on a mix of sand and coconut fiber for humidity retention. So that will hopefully work for rearing the larvae. I doubt they'll be as picky as the adults in terms of substrate. So hopefully that works better for rearing them. The adults, though, interestingly, even though it's an Idaho strain that I collected myself, a lot of the Idaho tenebs I collect, they stop reproducing come fall. They don't really need a dramatic diapause per se, but they just stop breeding come fall and winter, and then they just start breeding again in the spring and summer. But these guys have been consistently laying eggs even up until now. Like, a bunch of the larvae I isolated were hatchlings. So they're very consistently laying eggs. So if I can figure out how to rear the larva successfully, it'd be a great species to keep. And the adults are just so unique looking too. So hopefully I can figure those out and get them breeding, because those are definitely the most interesting Aloides we have in Idaho, and one of the more interesting Aloides species in the U.S. period, just because they got the muckrow and they got long hair, and yeah, cool, disgusting. What else? I feel like I had something else interesting to say, some update. Forgot. I did rehouse my Salgania raggi and my Ancodelia ceratissima the other day, and the ceratissima have bred way more than I thought they did in a relatively short period of time. And then the Salgania raggi, they've only bred a few times so far, but like all the offspring they produced basically are subadults already, and most of those some of those subadults are maturing already too. So it takes them like 4 or 5 months to grow. Any luck with Longicollis? Okay, so the one wild-caught Longicollis I had from last year that Kyle gave me was either virgin or got infected with entomophagus fungus. She did not produce any viable offspring. And then this female, presumably Longicollis, that got mixed in with the Aloides ischnolti that Kyle gave me, is also a virgin. So no, I have not had. I've received 2 Longicollis females in my entire time keeping darklings, and they've both been unmated. So no luck. Probably the worst luck ever. So yeah. But congrats to you on rearing yours. That's awesome. Damn, I'm really sad that neither you or Kyle were able to breed the Aloides acuta, though. That bums me out. That's a species I still need to get someday. Those and Suturalis. Yeah, because those are some beefy. Is it, oh, you're acuta bred? You got adults? I didn't know that. You have larvae. Well, I did not know that. First of all, congrats. I'm very glad to hear that. And yeah, well, keep me updated though on those, because that's definitely a species I would like to work with. I think those larger aloides in general tend to be kind of a pain to pupate. Hopefully those will be one of the less picky ones, but a lot of them are kind of finicky about the exact humidity levels. So there can be some high mortality rates for pupation, so keep that in mind. But some are easy, like the Aloides spinipes macrua. Those are easy as hell. But then Aloides spinipes ventricosus are picky as hell. They are by length. With my thumb, I could probably send all that to you because you'll do. I feel I'll do better. Aw, I would appreciate that. Egg on my face if they all fail. The thing is, I've never heard of anyone breeding a cuta before, so I have no idea how difficult they're going to be. They could be the easiest thing in the world to pupate. They may be infuriatingly difficult, like these obscura, which I've tried pupating several dozen over the course of me keeping them, and I've successfully pupated and enclosed maybe 5 adults. And I've been able to keep them going for a couple generations of that, but infuriatingly difficult. But hopefully these at least fall somewhere in between that, right, in range of the difficulty. Yeah, I mean, I'd definitely love to try pupating those, although if they're already the length of your thumb, they're probably pretty close to pupation size, if not already ready to pupate. That's about as long as the spinipes adults get, and about as long as even really large adult Aloides obscura come from larvae only about the length of my thumb. Yeah. So, but let me put these away. Yeah. Oh, that's another thing though. I need to get. Hopefully, maybe. I don't know. Maybe this winter I'll trade for some from Orin directly, but I need a Aloides ventricosa, Aloides spinipes ventricosa again. Cause yeah, that female Kyle sent me just never did anything. So I need a pair or 2 of those proper. Cause I want both the both spinipes subspecies we have in the hobby. We get those next Monday. Oh wow, thank you. I would love that. Yeah, the Thanksgiving I ship around Thanksgiving consistently, and usually I don't have that many issues. We'll see. I just sent out a bunch of boxes this week, so usually it might just be because of well, first of all, COVID, and then also the inflation. But it feels like the past couple years there's not been like so much of a mad rush for people buying things on Black Friday and Thanksgiving anymore. Especially like working retail. I worked Walmart, overnight for the past couple of years, and we've never had any hubbub during Black Friday at all. The store opens early. Specifically, there's a whole set of rules. We stop working the freight at night at Walmart in preparation for the masses supposedly coming to flood. And I live in a pretty heavily populated part of Idaho too. There's a lot of people here, but you get like 5 customers come in early to get stuff, and that's it for the past couple of years. It used to be much crazier than that, supposedly, from what I hear, but I think lately people have just been having a rough time of it, and most people do order the stuff online anyways nowadays. So, but then again, a lot of that's not through USPS. So, basically, what I'm saying is, I have had little issue shipping over Thanksgiving the past couple years, but I know traditionally that is a pretty poor time to ship. So obviously I don't care when you ship now. I'm in no rush, but I'm just saying, personally, I've not had any issues yet. I thought that was a neat observation. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. This. This is boring. This is not what people have not come here to hear me talk about the Thanksgiving trends, the Black Friday trends of mail volume and the inner workings of Walmart. People are here to hear me talk about bugs. Yeah, here's the Aloydes SS Nolte, by the way. See, the male has got that long elytral extension, right? That big old pointy bit at the end. It makes the species long, and this is not even like a major male. Like a major male would have a much longer muckrow. This species has a very long muckrow, probably the longest muckrow I've seen out of any U.S. Aloydes. So it's pretty cool. And again, the fact that the females have the prefemoral spine as well also kind of makes the species unique. The only other Aloydes I know of that has a full-on prefemoral spine as females is Aloydes armata. But Aloydes armata have spines on all of their femora. All 6 of their legs have femoral spines, that's a unique feature to armata. But yeah, so I think they're neat, and I hope Kyle breeds them successfully so that he can send me some larvae, because I really want those. They're really cool species, and again, really restricted in range. God, I wish I had a long muckrow. What you're saying is Idaho is not a place for people to live in, and you'll have to... These chat does not stay up long enough. You live in, and you'll have to move out from that hell. Yes, Alan, yes. Although, isn't that arguably better? Like, if I had to work at Walmart in, like, North Carolina, and I get trampled and stepped on and killed by the people coming in to buy a $600 TV for $5.99, that would suck. I kind of like that there's not that much of a craze. But it is a hell. It's its own type of hell living here, yes. In Idaho. I'm surprised it's not like memes about, like, you know, how memes about how Ohio isn't a real state. I'm surprised there's no memes about Idaho not being real. But then again, I guess a lot of people are coming here to move here. And ironically, it's just so expensive to live here now. But a lot of people come here because it's cheaper than California. Like the most of the people that move here to Idaho currently are Californians. Well-off Californians who want to buy their own homes. And it's cheaper to buy them here in Idaho than it is in California. Which in turn has made it really expensive to live here in Idaho. It kind of defeats the purpose. Imagine living in California. God, no. Yeah, that was horrible there. The bugs would be awesome, but the freaking prices, oh my God, no. That's like trying to live in New York. I don't know how people do it. I do not know how they do it. What the? Ooh, did you see that? What happened to the camera? Why did it get so bright for a second? That's really weird. Okay. I'm gonna go fill up the water again, and I'll be right back. I'm back, and no one's here anymore. If they die, Spring California receives. Let me call it quits. Okay. Oh, well, it says Alan's not here right now, but if he were here, I would tell him that I'm pretty sure the Imperial Dunes species, which I'm pretty sure is Investigata. I have twice received. Oh, you're here? Oh, that's weird. It said there's no one here. I have received twice Aranavaga from the Imperial Dunes. Well, okay, no. One time I got him from the Algodones Dunes, and the other time it was from the Imperial Dunes. But it was the same species. It looked like Investigata to me. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they're Samophiles. Like they did the ones I got from the Imperial Dunes did not do that well in coconut fiber. The ones I got from the Algodones Dunes did fine. But the ones I got from the Imperial Dunes that actually should have been mated females, or at least one of them should have been, they died very quickly as adults, quicker than they should have. And none of the ooths ever hatched. I think they might need sand. Like, I would probably try keeping them like Floridensis. If I were you. If I were me. If I ever get those again, somehow. Every time I've gotten ones, though, from California, it's been all females, and, like, the first time it was 2 unmated female nymphs, and then the Imperial Dunes ones, it was 3 unmated female nymphs, and, yeah. Yay, that's how you're keeping them. Perfect. Well, then, hopefully, as long as you got lucked out and actually got, you know, both sexes in there, then you should be fine, hopefully. I've been very unlucky with the sex ratio. Yeah. But they're very nice species, so I hope you're able to breed them, because holy shit. California, Aranavaga, we really need them. I'm about to call quits with freaking CF Grata, both the Mount Ord and the Pina Blanca one. Like, that Pina Blanca female you sent me, Alan. She's not laying any oos. I don't know what to do. I got the exact type of substrate that it looks like Ty uses. I got, you know, I'm trying to do the same humidity levels, the same everything. I can't get them to freaking oviposit for the life of me, and that's exactly what happened with the Mount Ords. I have no idea what it is. Why they don't do it? Why no ooths? They should be fine. Like, it's the only Aranavaga I have that problem with. Also, the Eremoblata, no ooths. However, I will say, with the Eremoblata, first of all, they're doing really well and growing, but, no ooths from females yet. But I did just update their enclosure. I mixed in some of that Repti sand in with the current sand / clay I have them, and now it like really compacts, and they really loving digging in that compacted layer like you said they would. But it compacts much better now that that extra fine sand's been mixed into the mix. So I'm hoping that might get them to be like, hey, this is more of a natural environment. So now we're gonna start laying eggs and stuff. So we might also just need an adult male in there to get some of them to trigger laying ooths. But yeah, so the Eremoblata I'm not too worried about yet, and especially now that I got their substrate looking much nicer, much more of that compactedness to it. There's still loose substrate if they need it, but they always seem to huddle around where it's like compacted, and they make like little tunnels and chambers in there. So hopefully, with that in mind, the Eremoblata will start laying ooths. But the CF Grata, the Aranavaga CF Grata, I have no idea what's going on with them. It's so weird. Yeah. And then, when I increase humidity, they laid some ooths. Really? Well, I was trying to keep them like mostly dry, like Ty has them. Maybe I'll try increasing the humidity. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that's the only Aranavaga I've had trouble with not laying ooths was Tonkawa. and I fixed that by keeping them more humid. But then I did the same with the Mount Ords, and they never produced anything. So granted, my first attempt with the Mount Ords might have been botched by pesticide poisoning. I'm still on the fence about that, but. So yesterday, though, I was getting some wood out of the garage, where I keep a lot of my excess bug supplies, and I was getting some rotten wood chunks out of there for my for rehousing the Penestine that I did yesterday. I was digging around in there with my bare feet, right? I got bare feet. I'm just in my garage. It's pretty cluttered in there, but I'm digging around in my wood box. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. And freaking field mouse runs past and runs into my foot, and I scream because I wasn't expecting that. It was so scary. I'm not scared of mice. If I'd seen it, I'd have been like, oh, that's cute, you know. But I didn't see it. I just felt it. Something fluffy, really soft, but something furry run right into my foot and then run away. And I got out of that garage so fast. Like, nope. But yeah, we live out in the country, so the field mice are pretty common here, but not that common. So, oh my god. Yeah, that scared me. Oh god. Oops. Kyle probably wants those. The field mice? Locality mouse? Well, if I see them and can grab them, well, I still probably won't because I don't want to get the bubonic plague. I'm getting bit by a wild mouse. I know what he definitely went to the sand dunes earlier this year. Get the got the what was it? Kangaroo rats up here in the sand dunes here in Idaho. I saw a bunch of those this summer when we went out, and I was like, I know Kyle. If Kyle were here, he'd try grabbing those because he's crazy. But yeah, no, not for me. I don't want that. Any of that crap. I haven't had a tetanus shot in a little over 10 years now, so I don't need no rabies. I really do want to get a tetanus shot though soon, because that is one of the things I'm most afraid of dying from is like rabies, like the lockjaw, right? Tetanus specifically, like not like the symptoms don't set in until it's too late, and that scares me, that freaks me out. So I gotta re-up on my tetanus shot here soon. What am I doing? He tried to catch mice in Alabama. What the fuck? Was it even a cool type of mouse, or was it literally just field mice? Like, okay, I would, like, the only mouse I would want to keep, maybe, are those giant African rats that are, like, loose in Florida, supposedly. Those, if they still exist down there, I would love to have those. Those are so cool, such personable rats. So that's, like, the only thing I would try to grab wild ones of. But just a literal field mice. There's zero clue on the mice and indication of Kyle. It's a mild type of mice to grow some mice. Why? What's wrong with it? Who knows what diseases they have, and then you're gonna contaminate your healthy captive bred ones with that? Like, no, don't do that. That's dumb. And then locality mice. Oh, that's weird. Like, if it was a specific species that he didn't have, maybe, but if it's something that he already has, like, why risk it? They got some mean teeth on them. Rodents have horrible bites, like, jeez. Ugh, no, not for me. Not for me. That is funny though. Kyle really does just see an animal, and he's like, okay, I need that. Like the ducks he was catching in with you and Satchel. Like who actually goes out and is like, okay, I'm gonna grab, like, literally catch the ducks. Rest, right, and bats are animals I'd never touch with bare hands. Yeah, same. Same. I'm surprised Kyle doesn't keep pigeons. I feel like he would like pigeons. Maybe in his new home. He should go to New York and get some pigeons. There's some really cool pigeons in New York. Kyle got some weird disease before from fishing. He did? He actually got sick off that? Yeesh. And he still does it? Oh my god. That's dumb. That's really dumb. Jesus. How is he still alive? How is he not, like, stuck his hand down there and there's a rattlesnake down there, you know, that bit him? Like, how is he lucked out? And even when he does get sick, he didn't die from it. Also, I saw in one of his recent live streams, I watched like the first 5 minutes of it and then I got off. He shaved his head. Why? Why would you... Why would you shave your head during the coldest parts of the year? I understand maybe cutting your hair back in the summer, but in the winter? What the... He sold his hair. Oh my god, that's why? I saw that he sold a lot of his hair on the auctions. That's why? I thought it was gonna be a lock. He sold all his hair. What the hell? I didn't get to watch the auctions because I was at work. And, I have not had I don't have the time to just put on that. I guess now at work I could just listen to the auction in the background. But that'd waste my battery on my work phone. But, oh, that's hilarious though. That's fucking hilarious. So that's why he's bald now. Okay. Oh my god, he literally sold all the hair. He should have sold the clothes off his back too. Just done a stream completely, I mean, completely naked. You're like, yep, I sold all my clothes, I sold all my hair. Thankfully the camera only shows his face and his shoulders at most. Oh man, that'd be hilarious. You see the gallon bag of Kyle's hair someone's posted. I want that person to make a voodoo doll out of it. And then, like, make a voodoo doll with it, then, like, videotape them, like, throwing it into a fire. And then send that to Kyle. That would be hilarious. Oh my god. Or no, like throwing it into like a roach bin, like a Pycnocelis roach bin, and like a time lapse it being consumed. Like make it out of like a little Like, take an apple, cut a hole out of it, stuff the hair in the top, carve like a little smiley face into it, and then that's basically a voodoo doll, you know? And then toss that into a pikeman salad spin and time lapse it being consumed. It'd be pretty funny. Scary but funny. Like, just sending that to Kyle with no context. Like, here's your hair. This is what I decided to do with your hair. Maybe I just have a fucked up sense of humor. I don't know. Those taken care of. You know, oats. Things don't like oats. I don't know why. Like, you use oatmeal trails as like traps for luring in darkling beetles and camel crickets and even some roaches at night. But in captivity, like everything I give oats to, the very few times I give things oats, they just don't eat it. And so there's some like darkling bins that I see there's still a bunch of oats that I gave them like a month ago in the feeding area, and they haven't touched it at all. And it's weird because in the wild, they definitely, like, when I lay out oat traps in the wild, it definitely gets a lot of darklings coming in. Yeah, they mold for me. Well, everything molds for me, so... Dog food also molds. Oatmeal, yeah, it's arguably worse than like big chunks of dog food though, because like it's smaller particle sizes and so it gets more mold. But yeah, no, I still get mold on dog food and stuff too, so I'm not too concerned about that. But it's just the fact that they don't eat it is pretty funny to me. Dog food, no problem. Pure oats, nope. No interest whatsoever. Ugh. Yeah, I'm getting a little annoyed lately with the freaking mold. What is this? You have grain stuff open. Flake for shake bunch of cigarette beetles. Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty good at getting out. Mine actually chewed through the plastic of their old container. I had to rehouse them, that was fun. But yeah, cigarette beetles. I mean, I can't say I've seen them get into anything else though. Well, that's good. But yeah, they're definitely good at getting out of their containers. What did you say? When did that tune in the main colony dried out? What do you mean dried out? Do you give yours like moisture? I keep my current colony of cigarette beetles is on a bed of rice and dog food. And that's it. And they get absolutely no moisture. And my air humidity is absolutely abysmal. That's weird. Very peculiar. Speaking of grain pests and stuff, though, I've started getting babies from that pair of, I've started getting larvae from that pair of Dermestes CF8er that I found in my mom's bedroom the other week. Which, they're eating one of my dead Andromeda female. Which, you know, rip. But, yeah, it's pretty funny. I don't know if I said that. Brandon sent me what were supposed to be Dermestes lardarius larvae, and they ended up being Anthrenus. Like, come on, man. I just want a species of Dermestes, but now I have one. And they breed on dead bugs, so that's great. Dead bugs and dog food. So, those will be fun to get a colony of. I think they're 8er, but I think they might not be, because I feel like 8er are smaller than these. These aren't like that bad of a size for Dermestes. I feel like Dermestes 8er are like pretty diminutive, because I remember seeing some in my when I lived in Florida. My grandpa would get feeders for his feeder crickets for his bearded dragon, and there were Dermestes 8er in there, and I distinctly remember those being pretty small. These adults I have, the male's kind of small, but the female's chunky. So they might not be Dermestes 8er. Might be something else, but they're an all-black adult Dermestes. So not the prettiest one, but definitely better than no Dermestes, in my opinion. I like my grain pests. Speaking of, I rehoused my Pyralis to a larger deli cup, so hopefully that gets the colony breeding even better. And maybe I can start selling them. The Dermestes fasciatus. Oh. Those would have been cool to get into culture. Yeah, that kind of sucks. We need more Dermestids in the hobby. For sure. Also kind of say, I recall Kyle saying that he had collected some of the North American native spider beetles in some rodent burrows last year. I don't think he ever actually successfully propagated those. At least not past a generation. Or at least if he has, he hasn't brought them up. He bred them? Does he still have them? I might have to ask. If he still has those, I'm going to have to ask him for them. Maybe he did still have them. I didn't see. Talked about it on his stream. Okay. Recently? I'm pretty sure. Was it really? Okay, well then I'm gonna have to ask him about those, because I would like those. Shoot, I thought those dried. I feel like I remember something in private message about him complaining that they had like dried out and died or something. But okay, that's good. Oh hey, look, one of my Later Atlanticus that I was hoping would pupate just molted into a larger larva. I still have 3 Atlanticus larvae, and nothing. These are so annoying. Man, the live chat disappears in like 5 seconds. I do not have time to read it. Red is got current fungus. I'm assuming they're dead. Ah, yeah. Okay, well that makes sense too that they bred in his Aranavaga enclosure. Neat. Well, I think another one. I think. Yeah, 2 of my Adelia later Atlantic is just molted. I don't want them to. Oops, I don't want them to molt. I want them to pupate. I want them to pupate all at the same time, and for me to have a pair. That's what I want. Keep trolling me. This one. Okay. These back. I'm almost done with this first rack. So, making decent time today. Although, what time is it actually? 6:41. Okay. Dead. I killed the stream. I killed my phone. Okay. And just probably gave someone with epilepsy a heart attack. If anyone with epilepsy watches this stream. Oh my god. No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. Jeez. I think I successfully managed to isolate a healthy colony again of Batfumer codum. Because I put my colony got infested with fungus somehow, and so it was entomophagus fungus, so I had to isolate adults. And then I isolated those adults for what I thought was an appropriate amount of quarantine time, and then I put them back into an enclosure, and they produced larvae, but then their larvae started getting entomophagus fungus. But then I isolated a bunch of larvae out, and reared them up individually. Some died from fungus, but a decent amount made it to adulthood, showing no symptoms. So hopefully those adults should be clean, and should also produce clean larvae. So I think I finally got a good culture of those going again. We will see. These are the Eublabrus Marigoera. I finally moved them to a 5-gallon bin. So hopefully this time they actually breed. Snails. Notice that I'm bothering the shelf the crickets are on. They're not chirping anymore. This is Ellen's few minutes of peace. Thank God. Oh, well, that's good that your Atlanticus are still alive. But, not so good that they won't pupate. I don't know what it is with those, what the heck they need to induce pupation. Like, I've gotten some to pupate, but it's always just very random. I don't know if I'm gonna finish maintenance today. I might have to do some tomorrow before I go to work, or after work. I'm tired. Native crickets under Animobia aren't in captivity. Is that a problem? I thought Kyle said he had something along the lines of that, in something in the Mobia breeding in one of his tiger hisser enclosures. I really would like Nemobiids, for sure. It's just not in my area. But I would really like them. Like little small true crickets, heck yeah. I tried getting some of those Xanogrylis something, the black African true crickets that are in culture in Europe off of Jorg, but those all died in transit over the summer. I tried getting some of those. Those also have a very grating, annoying chirp, but I still wanted them. But yeah, no, he shipped them. He shipped them in dry conditions and aspen shavings, and I don't. They dried out in transit, but they seem like they died pretty early on in the shipping thing too. So I don't think they'll survive being shipped here. Period. As adults or nymphs, those I would need to get as eggs. Probably. Oh wait. Oh, yeah, there's something in this I can take care of actually. The Hesbolus mexicanus. These now, hear the crickets that Alan hates so much. There's a good amount of nymphs in here right now. I don't know. I should probably ask how. I don't know if these like get dry or humid. I've been keeping them humid, and they seem to be doing okay. But I don't know if they prefer it dry. I mean, I think most Growlithe like it pretty humid. Maybe not the Similis or whatever, the one that's used for feeders, but yeah, there's a nice few dozen nymphs in here, growing fast. A couple more pieces of food than that. They're hatching out very sporadically, I will say. Cause like there's like multiple size groups of nymphs, and then like there are some in here that have clearly like just hatched. They're like absolutely tiny. The females have been dead for a minute, so definitely some sporadic hatching, which, if I remember correctly, in his paper talking about the two populations of Gralis firmus, the Florida ones surprisingly required a little bit of an egg diapause. No, wait, hold on. No, it was North Carolinian firmus required an egg diapause, versus the Texas population, and maybe the Florida one too, not requiring an egg diapause, but it was noted that the eggs had a very staggered hatch rate. Interesting. Yeah. This is out of water. I will be back with water. Pump it. Nice and moist. Alright. Get one of the little suckers here to show Alan this is what's been chirping, Alan. This is one of the males that you love so much. Alright. Feed him off. Grylus from South Florida recently. Won't end up regretting that decision. You will. If you hate this, you're gonna hate the Grylus Assimilis chirping. My god, why would you get them? You hate hearing them on the stream. You just got some for yourself now. You're gonna go insane. Oh my god. these two more shelves. The Yunpack guy in Discord swears they hardly chirp. Well, you put that to the test, I guess. It also kind of depends what temperature you're keeping them at, probably. I think the warmer it is, the more frequently they chirp. Or at least the less frequent there are in pauses between the chirping versus higher temperatures. The chirping is much more frequent and fast-paced. I really gotta get a picture of this champ at some point. My largest flathorn hisser. He's really quite an impressive individual. I really like these. I'd like them more if they were bright red and orange all over. But of course, the only locality... We've had them imported twice into the hobby, apparently, and the only localities we've gotten are the red and black ones. Which are neat. But I would prefer the other locality. Just saying. I think these guys need it a little bit more on the humid side than I'm keeping them, but the thing is, their enclosure serves as my my main colony of Nocido Biotes, Granulatus, the micro darkling, and it's the only population I have, and they're breeding in this container. So I can't keep it out here, so I might have to move my flathorns to a different setup and just make this my darkling, micro darkling enclosure. But oh, that's kind of funny though. Holy shit, that's Ailuropoda. Yes, Ailuropoda do get that big. Yes. But good morning, Satchel. Yeah, Ailuropoda get huge. The males especially can get really big, major males. But okay, so for example, I reared. Brandon sent me a bunch of males and a bunch of females, right? And the ones I reared communally in this container, all ended up about like medium sized. Most of the males are only like that big. Some are a little bit larger. This male is one that escaped during maintenance one day, and I didn't know exactly what it was, whether it was Ailuropoda or something else, so I threw it into my Eurycotis Improcerabin. I suspected it was Ailuropoda, but I just wanted to see. And that one, because it had less competition from the other hissers, a little bit more space for itself and more food availability, because the Eurycotis don't eat that much, got absolutely enormous. So, the size was very much impacted by the conditions. So, yeah, when raising majors, you want to keep them as you know, sparsely crowded as possible, and with as much food availability as possible. And then it's not that difficult to rear up some truly impressive individuals. But yeah, no, they get big. Ailuropoda males can get really large for their size, but when you're getting adults from somebody who's kept them in a big colony, they're all going to be smaller mediums. And if you rear them up in a small enclosure, or just they don't have a lot of hides or food availability, then they can still end up kind of small. This is my mahogany portentosa container, which has gotten to the point where opening the lid is not a great idea. There's so many in there. I'm gonna have to do a big old sale on these and cull a bunch of them off. Or maybe just freeze a bunch off and use them as Alea speeders. I don't know. Yeah, those are doing well. These are the Masoala. Portentosa. Nice, hefty males. I'm gonna get like a little bit of a lamp on it. You can kind of see them a little bit. But yeah, these definitely one of my favorites. I think there's a bigger male in there actually. That just recently matured. I do smell death in here, but I don't know. I may have eaten it. I don't know if that's being caught on camera whatsoever. Females get pretty damn big too. Definitely. Chunky hissers. I'm not seeing any dead ones though, so it must, and the smell seems to have dissipated, so weird. Got stabbed by one of them. Well, my hands are all itchy now. So let's try not to touch any more hissers today. Yeah, though, what was I gonna say? So, the Ailuropoda female and tiger female that I put in with my male Grumperdina obligonota, I've isolated the two females now to their own belly cups, and they're like really gravid looking. So, that may have been a successful cross. So it would be interesting if it is for both of them, because like Grumperdina to Ailuropoda hasn't been done yet, and Grumperdina to Patricia has been done, but I don't know if Tiger to Obligonota has been proven out yet. So the morphology between all of those crosses would be really weird. So would the coloration, I think. But that'll be valuable to learn if they do cross. Oddly, my tiger to Ailuropoda crosses, the females aren't really all that plump, which is kind of weird because that is a proven cross that Kyle did. I did get some more Princessia Van Becky black and white from Brandon, because mine still haven't bred. I was like, screw it. Brandon just got a bunch of litters, so I'll get some nymphs of those off of him. I still have a gravid female that's like really chunky looking, so hopefully she produces some young. I did have some issue. I think the one I had two pairs of these black and whites, and one of the pairs was infected with Serratia, and didn't last too long after maturing. So, but these two, the remaining adults I have, and then plus the nymphs from Brandon should be good. But see, that's a nice black and white male. Much more clear, defined striping on these, and like slightly brighter white coloration on the abdomen on this strain compared to the tigers that we have in the US. So, pretty cool strain, and they do seem to be pure. The males have all had that typical pronotum notch that Princessia should have, so pure strain. I really just need the tricolor strain here in the US. And then, if we could breed Andromeda, that'd be great too. But yeah, I want to find a source for tricolors this year, maybe. Pure tricolor, which is, it's hard to find pure hissers in Europe. Well, I mean, anywhere it's hard to find, but in Europe. I want to say that there's less hybrid awareness in Europe than there is in the US. And that's saying something because there's not a lot of hybrid awareness in the US, but there's a lot of European breeders I've seen that either just don't think they'll say, oh no, they can't hybridize because they're different species, or just don't know that they can hybridize. I've never heard of that happening, Yeah, this is the Andromeda bin though, and I'm not seeing any babies. Will the disappointment ever end with these? Probably not. How's your andro female doing, Alan? Has she plumped up at all, at least? That's like a problem with mine lately. You going to sell some Grylus firmus? I'd love to get some. Excuse me. Next generation, I'll probably sell some Grylus firmus, but I'm gonna give them a generation to settle in for me. I don't know how bad the nymph cannibalism will be, especially in the later instars. Some Grylus are very territorial, and others not so much. So we'll see. So I want to give myself a good, firm first generation before starting to sell any off. And nope, still in. That sucks. That's an issue I'm having with a lot of my females. Just like, I really only have like 2, maybe 3 females that are truly plump looking. The rest are thin, but they never aborted ooths, and it just seems like they've lost their appetite. And I don't understand what that means. I have tried a variety of different foods. I don't get it. I do not get it. They should not be refusing food like they are. So that's kind of annoying. Weird, but and it's like they're losing weight, but they're not like losing tarsai or losing antenna bits and stuff like that. Like they're not like, it's not like severe aging or anything. They just like, they're not hungry. So it's weird. Yeah, I don't know. We might have to get these again. But we're all giving it our best, our damnedest, trying to breed these Andromeda. So hopefully we can, but I don't know. feel like if I do get babies, it's gonna be like a time where I forgot to do maintenance. Like, oh great, well they're all dead, and then oh wait, no, they just gave birth somehow. You know, I feel like that's always what happens with stuff like this. These are my abominations, my different crosses that I'm waiting to prove out. I put a Ailuropoda in Sinus female with the male E. javanica, but she's really fat, but she seems to have had a little bit of a prolapse, unfortunately. So I don't think she's gonna produce anything. I don't know if that was because the genitalia were not compatible and she got damaged during mating, or whether it was just a random fluke and she was gonna get a prolapse no matter what. But yeah, so that kind of sucks. Ruins the test result there. We got the Tiger X Obligonota. She looking mighty plump. So here's hoping something comes from that. But these are all hybrids for education, by the way. This is just to see what's possible and to prove what's possible so that I can, in an informed manner, tell people, yes, these can all hybridize. Don't keep them together. So that is why I'm trying to make crosses. Okay. Most of the people watching me by now know that that's what I'm doing, but I see there's 7 people watching right now, which is the most I've ever had on at one time. So I don't want people to pop in and hear me talk about making Hisser hybrids and be like, hey, what is this guy doing? What's going on here? Oh, what's going on in the chat? Like sex ed, uncomfortable but necessary. Exactly. Playing God a little bit here, but it's for the greater good. Because even though Kyle succeeded in making Flathorn X tiger hybrids, and we have photographic evidence of that, people just don't really believe it. People still are like, oh no, different genre, can't hybridize. But not only can they, but they can make fertile hybrids when it comes to hissers, which is really bizarre in terms of, taxonomy. Yeah, this is a really plump Ailuropoda female to Obligonota. Which, too, another big barrier when it comes to mating hybridizing hissers is size. Simply size. Oh, what has what been proven, Ellen? The tiger to Ailuropoda? Because yes, Kyle did bred them accidentally. Yeah, his tiger colony crashed a couple years ago. He only had females, virgin females, and he put them in with I don't know why, but he thought the females were stressed being by themselves, so he put in a male Ailuropoda in with them to, yeah, he put it. I have the pictures. I can send them to you in private message if you want, but there's also links to them on my blog that Kyle let me use. But no, they're very clearly Ailuropoda X tiger hybrids. There's no doubt about it. You've seen the pics, yeah. And he said he got them to F2 and then destroyed the colony. So they were fertile hybrids as well. No, but to me they very clearly look like hybrids. They very clearly have a morphology mix between Ailuropoda and the Princessia. They're flatter. The males especially, you can see it's very prominent in the males. They got that flat sort of Ailuropoda kind of build, but not quite as flat as Ailuropoda. He sent pics of the offspring. I didn't get to see. No, he sent me a picture of an adult female F2, I'm pretty sure. He only sent me pictures. Yeah, he sent me pictures of the males, and the females, you know, it's a little bit more. It could just looks like a kind of particularly flat tiger female, but the males definitely they have the pronotum morphology of Ailuropoda, but it's just not as flat or exaggerated as Ailuropoda, but it's definitely not Princessia. And then the overall body is flatter too. And then the coloration is just a little slightly off for tiger. They definitely inherited more of the tiger features because it was the tigers that were the mom, and genetically most traits offspring get are from the mother. I think it's at least more likely that the traits inherited will be the traits of the mother when hybridizing things. But the Ailuropoda still definitely showed through in the morphology, and then did muddy the coloration a little bit on the females especially. But very pretty looking hybrids for sure. But then I'm pretty sure he sent me a picture of an F2 female, and they'd gotten a little bit darker in F2, a little more muddied striping. But yeah, you need to see the males. Yeah, I'll have to send you a picture again. It's on my blog. If you go to the page of my blog, if you go to, it'll be on the the bar, the toolbar on my blog. You go to more pages, and then you go to my pure hobby history key, which is a little outdated right now. And then the first species listed is Ailuropoda because it's in alphabetical order, and in that description there is a link to another page where Kyle let me put his pictures of the hybrid crosses. And there are pictures of the males on there. But if you don't want to go through all that, I can just send you pictures of the male when the stream is done. But they look really cool. The morphology is the most interesting aspect to me. It's cool that they inherited mostly the tiger coloration as well, because that is the prettier of the coloration between the two species, in my opinion. But I like the Ailuropoda morphology more. And so that cross was like the best of both worlds in terms of for me, for my eye candy at least, is like, wow, it's tigers with Ailuropoda morphology. But yeah, the male, it's most prominent on the males. The females, there's not that much of a difference in morphology. The Ailuropoda females, they get pretty chunky, pretty like cylindrical. They're not very flat. The males are definitely the flatter of the two, and have the more unique pronotum morphology as well. But yeah, you can definitely see that. And so what I'm interested though, because like Princessia Ailuropoda have somewhat similar pronotum structures. Like they both have that very noticeable anterior notch in the pronotum that Grumpytorhina and Elliptorhina lack. And if anything, it's the opposite. So if the Ailuropoda to Obligonota cross I tried actually works, I'm going to be very interested to see the pronotum morphology of those, because the Ailuropoda have a very big pronotum notch, in the interior margins, whereas Obligonota have the exact opposite. Even minor males have a protrusion. It goes forward. It's like a spoon, right? Jutting out of the front of the pronotum. So it's like the exact opposite pronotum morphology. So crossing those two, what the heck would the males look like? Would it just look like Portentosa, where it's just kind of flat? Will it even out? Is it going to be horribly deformed? Who knows? Because the Ailuropoda is the mother, will it in fact be a pronotum notch? Because the morphology of the mother will be more closely inherited? Who knows? These are the questions that I want answered. So that's why I'm doing this crap. But yeah, and so when we're talking about Hisser sizes, though, is what I was saying. That's a big factor in terms of hybridization. Hi, Martin. Starting your late maintenance and feeding. Hey, nice. We should combine our streams. That is actually a feature. Unless you can stream with another person. I don't know exactly how to do that, but I just saw that that was an option. But that'd be cool. But as I was saying though, with the size differences in histers, that is a big barrier in hybridizing as well. You got to pick ones that are of a relatively close size to each other in order to. Yeah, 10 people. Wow, that's crazy. Hi everybody. Because if you tried to hybridize like a dwarf hisser like the Elliptorina javanica or Elliptorina chapardi with Gomphodina portentosa, and you pick normal sized adults of both, they're not gonna fit. It's not gonna fit, right? Um, but hissers are very variable in size. Size is mainly, in my experience, not even like genetically influenced. It seems to have a lot to do with just literally the setup that they're given. More food, more space equals larger individuals. But so if I had normal sized, like medium to large, a Grumphodina obligonota male, I would not have been able to try crossing him with tigers or my Ailuropoda because the females I had are pretty small. But this is what my obligonota are in now, but I had reared them from small nymphs in a container like less than half this size. And while my females are kind of hefty, this is my male. And he is not that big at all. This is a minor male. He's tiny. Very tiny obligonota. Like, ridiculously small. Still able to mate with the females that he's in with, for sure. That won't be a problem. But more useful to me, though, in terms of making weird hybrids. Because he's a more medium-sized hisser in general. He can be crossed with a lot more females. So yeah, if I had had an actual major, like that long, this wouldn't be possible. It would be too big. So yeah. That is kind of funny because I have that giant Ailuropoda male, and then I have this tiniest little, tiny little Obligonota male. That's what she said. It's too big. Not to you though. No, I'm joking out. I'm joking. You versus the male still you worry about. Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. Just goes to show people size matters when making hybrids. Aranavaga Sunny Flat Campground. They're doing pretty well. I got a lot of babies already. And these are the Aremoblata subdiaphana. Which, yeah, the substrate is nice and packed. And more importantly, packed and like stays packed when dried out. Right? That's the important part. But yeah, no ooths that I can tell. They look just like Aranavaga ooths, right, Ellen? Have you gotten ooths from these before? I assume they just look like Aranavaga ooths, right? They're not like crazy shapes that I'm like missing. I'm not expecting it, right? Also, I'm going to be getting some more leaf litter here soon. I'm going to crush a bunch of that and put on top. I'm going to pick some Facebook. Okay, I'll have to look for those later. I'm pretty sure I recall you showing off what their ooze look like, and yeah, if I remember right, it looked pretty typical for Corydid. So I don't think I have any yet, but soon, hopefully soon. Hey, more clickbait. These are Ignolate. I'm trying to pupate some. Okay, I don't think they're gonna pupate this year, but I have upgraded some of my Ignolator to 5-ounce deli cups, so that they will hopefully grow out and at least pupate next year. Yeah, it's been like what, 2 years I've drawn out breeding these. I've been rearing these larvae for a long time. Well, there goes the camera. Ugh. What type of water do I use? Distilled? I use tap water. I've used tap water for all my inverts for years, except for that one, for that short period where I had velvet orbs before they all killed themselves. Those I used actual I think it's distilled. Whatever Kevin told me to use for him, I actually got for him. Okay, so I did that right. But no, I use tap water for everything. Because I'm lucky enough to. Idaho tap water is pretty good. This camera won't stir. Oh. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, no, Idaho tap water. Never had an issue with it. It's been pretty good. I can't say that I can attribute any deaths I've had in my collection for the past, 8 years to the water. So, yeah, no, I just use straight tap water. But I am aware that there are some areas in the U.S. where it is not a good idea. I mean, there are some areas in the U.S. where you can't even drink the tap water yourself. So, but yeah, where I am, using the tap has not been an issue. And so I don't use distilled water or anything fancy like that for my bugs. They don't need it. So yeah. There's that perhaps disappointing answer, but hey, it works for me. I'm lucky. So I have this one last straggler 2020 Deliolator Physoderus larva that has not pupated yet. It missed the train this year with literally every other one of its siblings. So this poor thing's gonna die alone. Yeah. Then alright. Yeah. Elyptrina javanica. A couple of my javanica females are looking really plump, so I'm hoping I get babies from these soon. I'm gonna have to get Chapardi, too. I need Chapardi and Davidi as well. Like, I would like to try crossing Davidi to stuff eventually in the future, but That would make like the weakest thing ever. Like the video are so finicky, I wouldn't want to introduce that finickiness to other things. Like I don't know if any of the offspring would make it to adulthood for me to even document what they look like. But I do want Davidi back at some point. It's funny though, cause like with the Elyptrina Davidi, like so Kyle says keep them really dry and warm, right? That's his thing. And he has a big successful colony. Brandon Maines also has had a big successful colony of Davidi for years. They breed pretty consistently well for him. They have their ups and downs, but they always come back from them. And he keeps them like the opposite of Kyle. He keeps them not that warm, like 75 to 80. Whereas Kyle's recommending like 85 to 90, if I remember right. And he also keeps, well, Brandon keeps all his Elyptrina pretty humid. That goes for the Davidi as well. I think he's like 50-50 humidity gradient on those, if not more. And so it's like literally the opposite. They both have opposite advice for keeping them. And I'm just like, okay, what the hell? How the hell do I keep those? So yeah, I failed. Hey Kai, what's up? Doing maintenance with the boys and girls and other folk here. When I say boys, it's gender neutral, okay? Where is this? This is one of my larger. I had, so this guy's at like almost major morphology, but not quite. But this is one of my larger Grumperdina unidentified males. Came out kind of fugly though with his exoskeleton came out all wrinkled. He had not the best molt, I guess. But size-wise he's big. Color-wise nice too. It's really hard to capture the unidentified's colors on camera, because they have some like really neat patterning to them, but they just, you know, they're boring. Why you don't have hisser? You know, that air hole. Oh, there's something going on in the chat here I'm missing. Air hole count makes me want to vomit because I'm afraid of the holy count makes me vomit because I don't believe in ventilation. Yes, oh my god. Could it be that colonies have been selected for those conditions? I assume you're talking about the Davidi. It could be, except for the fact that, Brandon got his directly from Kyle, if I remember right. So, if Kyle's saying to keep them one way, and Brandon kept them literally the opposite way from the get-go, and had good luck with them, right? That doesn't quite make sense. So, yeah, those are just kind of a puzzle, so... Although, the last time I kept them and failed, I'm pretty sure I didn't give them enough ventilation. And then there's Alan bragging about having Leivigata with no ventilation, which, to be fair, Alan, at least from what Brandon has told me, Brandon keeps his Leivigata, like, pretty dang humid. So, if you keep yours with, like, little to no ventilation, but a little, like, not super humid, you're basically achieving that same kind of, like, air moisture. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if you having success with those. But Brandon does keep his Davidi well ventilated. Those probably would not handle limited ventilation, and most histers do not like limited ventilation. But yeah, this whole count, this is. Do you see that? Do you see this? Hours and hours of work. I don't even know. This used to be my old Banta enclosure. When they were crashing, like, I gave them a lot of ventilation to begin with, but then when my Banta started crashing, I started giving them more ventilation, because I thought maybe that would have helped them. In retrospect, I think actually that was a bad idea. I think my air humidity is too low, and so the Bantua kept on crashing and eventually died out. But the Grumpy Rhino liked the ventilation a lot. um, yeah, and my unidentifieds are doing better this year than they have in a very long time. Like, they're breeding so well. There's a lot of babies in here, so I'm glad these have finally taken off. Ellen says, actually joking, I have ventilation with your airlift right now. Oh, okay. Become more a fan of one big hole with a screen over it. Yeah, I don't have like a good quality hot glue gun or like a drill bit to put holes and stuff, and I just can't be bothered to get either of those things and buy a screen. You know, all those tools that I don't have, tools and materials I don't have. I have a soldering iron. I'd rather just poke holes, even if it's more time consuming, and I eventually get lung cancer from inhaling all the plastic fumes. um, it's fine. I'm fine. So yeah, but one day I'll switch over to ventilation. I prefer small, tight holes. Me too. Me too. And sometimes I take for granted that by cleaning out houses, yeah. Yeah. You got that privilege, Kai. Is it? Wait, no, is it Kai or Satchel that's in that? I can't. No, it's Satchel. Yeah, you got that. Again, white privilege, Satchel. Hot glue gun. Poor hot glue guns. Shh. Look at you living in wealth. Oh, so many tools. God. Okay. But at what price? More Igni later, Marvin. And I really need to just get around to isolating a bunch of Asbolus mexicanus larvae, because I'm finding it very easy to pupate them now that my entire room is 80, in the 80s, temperature-wise. And I've started pupating some larvae, it doesn't really matter what substrate I give them, this is mostly coconut fiber and a little bit of sand. And it wasn't able to make a stable burrow, with the substrate kept drying out and it kept collapsing. But so it just settled on the top of the substrate and ended up pupating there, and it's doing perfectly fine. He kept dying at the pupal stage, only 2 made it to adults. Yeah, you gotta be very careful with them when they're in the pupal stage, because they can't be... If you let them dry out completely for too long, they will die. And if you keep them too humid as a pupilate, they also die. So when they're actually like a pupal cell at the, and I'm trying to maintain the level of the substrate at the bottom, all that, and then actually heating them supplementally, through, keeping them in an incubator type thing or something like that, that's kind of difficult to maintain proper humidity. But now that my entire room is warm, don't have that issue, and I now know I can just give them like some flimsy, thin layer of substrate, and they'll eventually settle down and pupae on top of it, and I can more easily just like spray the corner of the substrate every week and not have any issues. So I think I finally have a few subadult female Arenovaga floridensis lake placids. Finally. And still a decent amount of male nymphs as well, so getting closer to being able to breed those. Thank God. Hoping Kyle can get them going. Well, see, and I still have the 5 adults that Sean Kramer sent me, plus some of my captive bred adults. But the adults that Sean Kramer sent me of the Asbolus laevis, like in 2020, they're all still alive and still laying eggs. So like, I've not really had to worry about like firmly like growing up a lot of them to adulthood to prevent losing the colony, but I should probably get on that, especially now that I can more easily do so. So that's what I will do. Man, I'm all sniffly after taking care of all those scissors. Allergies can't keep me away from them. But yes, I'm very allergic to this. Those. Second bin of Andromeda. No babies from these females either. Yeah, so this is like the normal size of the Ailuropoda males I get. Like these little piddly, fast, and does not want to be handled, but these little medium-sized males compared to that Chad that I showed earlier in the stream. Which these I have with a, there's a female nymph of the Princessia Big Blacks in here as well. That's small still. But I'm growing her out as well to try to cross with Ailuropoda. That would be crazy. I feel like a major male from a cross between Ailuropoda and one of the larger Princessia strains would be like pretty wild in terms of not only morphology but just the size. Could probably get pretty hefty. Because major males of both of those species get pretty big. So, yeah. Alright, and then here we got my Elliptornis laevigata, which I said I was keeping these two dry, so then I kept them, I overdid it last maintenance and like really soaked their enclosure, and I had given them a bunch of fruit, and so like the other day I opened it up and one of the females had died and the fruit was covered in phorid fly maggots. There's just phorid fly maggots everywhere. It was disgusting. So I had to like do an emergency like refresh of the enclosure. And, say okay now 50-50 humidity gradient is what I'm going for with these. Yeah, because that was disgusting. Ugh, I hate phorid so much. I haven't had to deal with them until this year, which is annoying. I don't know how I avoided them this long, but God, I miss those days. I could get that that natural crap and spray my enclosures down with that, but apparently that's only really effective in enclosures that are very consistently moist throughout the substrate. So that'd only work on like half my collection, so why even bother, you know? What we really need, as Kyle was saying, is we need some sort of like little predator, micro predator that we can throw into an enclosures that only eats phorid flies. If we can get that at some point, that would be amazing. Something hyper focused on phorid flies is their natural prey. But alas, I don't know if such a thing exists. Yeah, my tigers, on the other hand, they do like it consistently moist throughout their entire substrate. At least that's the only way I've gotten mine to breed for me, and there's a lot of babies in here now, so that's cool. So I have tigers from Brandon, which are undoubtedly pure. They're pure, but they're not pretty. They're not the prettiest tigers. They've not been, like the tigers Kyle has right now. He sold them to Dan Granier, and then when he lost his colony, got them back from Dan, and Dan had like selectively bred his for like better striping and better coloration in general. The ones I got from Brandon are like really like kind of gross. Like there's a lot of females especially that it's like almost orange, like striping instead of the more cream colored. And you know some do come out cream, but there are quite a few more darker ones. But the males look much better, and but still sometimes some really dark ones pop up. But again, the pronotomorphology is consistent, and it's just natural color variation in these. But yeah, Brandon's strain of the tigers is not the prettiest. I might want to get some of Kyle's too, but at the same time, this is probably more representative of how they look in the wild, at least in terms of the variability. So I would still keep these from Brandon because they're unaltered, just natural variation tigers. But I would like some of Kyle's more clean looking ones too. But I'll wait to get those another day. Build this colony up a bit more. Any particular... Oh, let's see this before it runs out. Any particular reason why you feed apples? In my enclosures, apples mold very fast, but carrot does much better. Well, one reason is a lot of my things don't really like carrot that much. Carrot is good it's a good filler food. It doesn't have... I don't think it has as much nutrition as apples do. But it's a good filler food for colonies, big ravenous colonies of roaches that are like at the point where there's so many of them they'll eat literally anything you throw in there. Then carrots are good filler food for that. But that's the only really scenario in which I feed carrots to things, because there are a lot of roaches that I'll feed carrots to and they just don't even touch it. Even when there's a bunch of them, they won't even touch it. But especially smaller starter colonies and stuff, they just, they take a few nibbles in it, and then as soon as the carrot gets like this, basically after the first 2 days, they completely lose interest in the carrots. Apples, though, they do mold, which is gross, but I don't really care about mold. First of all, I'm not that grossed out by it. Mold is not most molds are not really dangerous to anything that I keep. And what's the other thing? Well, for a lot of the roaches that I keep, they eat the apples before they mold because they actually like apples. And also, fruits are somewhat essential, or at least highly beneficial, to a lot of live-bearing species, and also species that eat more like sweet foods in the wild. You know, like a lot of former ectobids, some Parasparinae, that feed from sap flows, or literally eat fruits in the wild. Those need fruits. You can't replace that with a carrot. And then even hissers, most hissers and a lot of blackbirds in general breed better when they have fruit in their diet. So, and that's fruits specifically, not veggies. Veggies are a good filler food, but I don't really use them for a lot of what I keep. I give them the protein and the fruit, and that's usually what I use. But as some of my hisser colonies and stuff, some of my larger, more prolific species start getting bigger colonies, I might start buying, carrots in bulk and using that as a big portion of their diets for those larger colonies. Because again, it is good food, good cheap food to buy in bulk and satisfy a colony's hunger. Just throw a bunch of carrots in there, So, but most of my colonies are not that big, except for some of my hissers, and those I'm still just, throwing in a whole bunch of dog food and some apples, and they're doing fine. Is there any more questions in the chat I forget to answer? I had bad luck feeding carrots many things. Carrots uneaten for so long that they sprouted. Yeah, exactly. Like, heck, even like darkling beetles, I've thrown in carrot chunks in there, and then, for all the damage that darklings are supposed to do to crops as larvae, they barely touched them, and most of the time the carrots grew. And it's like, okay, if the food you feed them starts eating, if the food you throw them starts growing, something's not right. Clearly, they're not interested. Like that potato I threw in my pie dish beetles enclosure that actually started growing little baby potatoes, and I ate one of them. I'm once again out of water, so I will be right back as I fill this up with my glorious Idaho tap water. Rutabaga species Miller Canyon. I think I've started getting adult females from this strain, but no males yet. So, still a little waiting to do on breeding these. But they're growing fast. My Eurycotis species Venezuela. Doing good. Yep, little babies with mama on the back. So yeah, looks like I've had a couple more ooth hatch actually. Sweet. Very grateful to Alan for sending me some of these back. And grateful for the opportunity to work with them again. A cute little Eurycotis species. Underappreciated in the hobby. Cause all sorts of havoc while I'm doing this. Definitely need more people keeping those. Yeah, we definitely do. And like, the problem is, it's a small brown species of roach. So no one wants them. I was selling them publicly for like quite a while, for pretty cheap too. No one wants them. No one's interested. We have a very like a sad lack of roach, Eurycotis species Venezuela satchel. Cute, very cute species. They got a very cute like round shape to them. I like them a lot. And they have that typical Eurycotis defensive smell. It's like kind of like cherries mixed with almonds. It's actually kind of pleasant, you know. But yeah, no, we have a very a concerning lack of roach hobbyists in the U.S. at this moment in time that have interest in roachy looking roaches, right? There's a lot of people coming in, you know, they love the Theria, some of the hissers, feeder species, and then of course Pseudoglomus magnifica and the other metallic like Euchroidia and stuff. But not enough that just want the little boring brown. And some yeah. So yeah, Satchel, they almost died out. I lost my colony due to pesticide poisoning, and quite a few of the people I sent them to failed with them, but thankfully a few did succeed in breeding them, including Alan, and he gave me some back. He gave me a female back that has produced a whole bunch of babies already, so yeah. But yeah, we need more roach hobbyists that want all the roaches. Even the more roachy ones, but there's not a lot of those people in the hobby at the moment, and that's kind of sad. And it's kind of like the roach hobby in general has kind of shifted towards more of a the roaches that are worth keeping are only like the pretty ones, like, and that mentality has definitely like gained traction, I think, due in part, unfortunately, just to the wider variety of roaches we now have in the hobby. Because like back in the day, you know, there was only like 30 species of roach in the hobby at most. And so people who were collecting them would collect literally any species they could get, even the more, you know, ugly looking ones. Whereas now we do have all these really pretty species entering the hobby now, and people are shifting to wanting to only keep those, which I understand, but at the same time, you know, some of the more obscure brown species are really neat too, you know? Cool morphology differences, and still a reason to keep them, but yeah, it's just an unfortunate shift in mentality that I've noticed lately, but yeah, what can you do? Like these Dramaplaneta semivitata I'm taking care of right now. These are even pretty. I think these are neat, but every time I've tried to sell them, there's been very limited interest in them. So, you know, they're not metallic, and they climb. There's been a lot of people lately that like really do not want anything that climbs. Is this a female? Of course. Booyah. That should be enough humidity. What's going on in the comments? Sure, it's a tie for keeping them going. Interesting with some, yeah, for the Urocotis, yeah, definitely. Tie. Like small roaches that are day active for display. Yeah, I wish there were more of those available. Yeah, see, because that's the thing though, most roaches are not day active. So, even of those roaches, and Satchel says he's one of those who doesn't really like the roachy ones. Yeah, I mean, there's no shame in not liking the roachy ones. I'm just saying I wish there were more people who did like them. Because we kind of get to the point where there's only like 2 people keeping a lot of these species at any given time. And if those 2 people fail with that species for some reason, they have some crashes, it's hard to get them back. But, yeah, I mean, I get it, you know, why pick the boring brown ones when you got the more attractive species, but I like both, so I hope that more and more people start entering the hobby that do like both and will want to keep both, so that we get to retain more diversity in the hobby at any given time. Because, you know, with the isopods, you got all these people and they collect all the boring, like Trogodillo species soil, people are selling for like $100. And people still buy those, and it's like, okay, all the boring brown isopods people collect, well, why not the boring brown roaches? Because isopods are cuter to the public eye. But, yeah. We need that mentality, but with roaches. Yeah. A Big Pine Key, isopods are unpopular. Yeah, right? Yeah. There's no justice in this world, is what I'm getting at. Isopods actually pretty? Nope, no one wants them. Ugly isopods? Heck yeah. Where do I sign up, right? And then roaches. It's just the very few species that gain a lot of traction. See, like this Princessio colony is something that I would throw in a bunch of carrots too. And I might actually start buying carrots for these. Just because, yeah, they eat so much. You give them so much food and they just eat it within a few hours of me feeding them. Because there's so many Princessia Van Becky Big Blacks in here. That they're not really growing to be big in this colony, to be honest. Most of them are pretty puny adults because of how crowded it is. Healthy and breeding, so I don't really care, but they're not throwing out a lot of majors at this point. But if I really want a major male, I can just isolate some male nymphs and grow them out in a different enclosure. But I have no need for that at the moment. Should get some big pines from you, Alan. Yes, you should. You shouldn't apply anything from the isopod hobby to irrational people. Yes, that is true. That is true. And yes, the big pine keys are pretty easy, in my experience. Mine had a little bit of a crash due to the substrate becoming a rising mass of Orobated mites, but after rehousing them, they're already breeding and bouncing back pretty well. So I find them very easy. I keep mine mostly humid, but very well ventilated. Alan keeps his, I think, well ventilated, but humidity-wise, more like a Spanish Porcello. I think the reason mine do better when I keep them mostly, the substrate mostly humid, is because of the abysmally low air humidity here in Idaho. Whereas Alan's already got super high air humidity, so they probably, don't want it super dry. Alright, I think I'll take care of one more shelf of bugs and then I'll get going. Any luck with Porcello expanses, TJ? Well, I had a couple die, but most of them are doing great. They're growing. I think they just started hitting sexual maturity in terms of size. So, no babies yet, but I think they've started hitting sexual maturity, and most of mine are doing good. So, fingers crossed for babies from those within the next few months. And they have stayed white, by the way. The ones you sent me. I don't feed them vegetables. They get their leaf litter, their dog food, and that's it. Can't even see through the sides of this enclosure that much. There's so many. Well, I guess now they're not on the walls because I sprayed the enclosure down, but my Neostylopica rhombifolia. These are a relatively attractive species, and they used to be one of the more sought after ones in the hobby back in the day. But now that we got all the prettier options and stuff, that people don't really not much interested in the species anymore. Right. Here we have some Cleveland Aquarium, Grumpodina portentosa. Nice large female. I'm hoping these start breeding soon. We got my Melanozosteria sorer have been like not doing that great. I've had a lot of larger nymphs like reach subadult stage and then just die off, which is kind of weird. But like my old adults have been still producing lots of I've still been producing lots of offspring, which is also weird. I still have some of my original adults in here. There's a good amount of smaller nymphs in here, and I do see a couple fresh adults too, so I might not be doing that bad, but there has been some weird die-offs with these, and I'm not sure what's causing that. Like, it'll almost seem like they are drying out, but the ones I find dead are, like, dead on the driest side of the enclosure, whereas I feel like if they were seeking out moisture and dehydrated, they would be in the moister area, so kind of weird. But I keep them basically 50-50 in terms of humidity, a humidity gradient, so I don't know. But they're doing well enough for now. Apple slice. Get rid of my Tonka. Breeding so well. Oh. Achoo! Oof. Excuse me. Oh, well. Gynocapucina trying to escape. What's going on here? It's weird. Some weird, couple of, like, dying large nymphs on the top of my, top of the substrate of my, Gynocapucina colony, which is kind of weird. The rest of the colony seems to be doing okay. Some fresh new females. I'm gonna have to start isolating the adults here soon, though. Apple slices, dog food. Dang, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, by the way, Alan, so Brandon just sent me some Procellunites, species Miami. So now I have the Miami, the Everglades, and the Big Pine Key. Is there another strain in the captivity now? I feel like I saw someone post a fourth locality of those, of that complex, but I can't remember where it was from. Elliott Key. Yeah, I don't have those yet. I'm close to having all of them. So close. But yeah, the Miami's and Everglades, not as pretty as Big Pine Keys, obviously, but they're still very attractive isopods. The Miami especially got like a nice, like, basically solid orange adult, and they're so pretty. Don't know. Don't keep Elliott Key, but Carlos is still in it. Ah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that whole complex is really pretty. Really pretty isopods. Very underrated. and very easy. For example, the Persona, these big pine trees that I'm breeding right now, no leaf litter. No leaf litter, and they're breeding just as well without it. So, yeah. Definitely fairly easy. Just slightly slow. Slow growers, really. And then they weirdly seem to go like from like you have a bunch of tiny manka like for a very long time, and then all of a sudden you have sexually mature ones, and it's like, oh, where were the in between individuals hiding this whole time? What? Both me and Brandon have noticed that in our colonies. They go from baby to breeding in an odd amount of time. You see, Alan, have you seen freaking Ben Quintina? Quintina? I don't know. It's, posting those, oh, what is the name? Pseudo Armadillo Van Slecky or whatever. Van Secchi. Really interesting looking Isopod, I gotta say, but you know. And then that other guy posting the Pseudo Armadillo Elegance. People are getting a little brave, aren't they? Yeah, overpriced pods that cost an arm and a leg. I agree. All isopods are overpriced. I agree. But they sure are neat, though, those ones. That whole genus is pretty neat. But I especially like the spine shape on those Sklecky or whatever. Been bringing in all these Cuban isopods, but no roaches. Yeah, man, bring in the freaking... You going to Cuba and you're not bringing in any roaches? There's a lot of cool Cuban roaches. Not as profitable as the isopods, but, you know. Also, I really apologize for the disgusting sniffling ASMR that... I should really go blow my nose. Those scissors did a number on me. Checking up on my Eustagaster buprestoides. They're eating. I can tell they're plumper than when I got them. They're really tiny right now though. It's gonna take a hot minute for these to mature. But supposedly it only takes like 4 to 5 months from birth to adult. So it's relatively fast growing species, so hopefully they do grow that fast for me. Because I cannot wait to see adult Eustagaster. Finally. I've been wanting these for so long. The top layer is so straight. Let's try it out significantly around the edges. That. And we got new pure Azaria. Bernhardt tea. Which I still personally am of the opinion that Bernhardt is a distinct species from Petavariana. But it would be nice to get some like actually keyed out Petavariana in the hobby. You know, there was that one Chinese breeder who supposedly had them, but I don't know why he hasn't been selling them. Also, for some reason, I was under the impression that they did not do a genitalia dissection in Bernhardt in the description. Excuse me. But they did. I just reread the paper, and they did do a genitalia description, so I guess they just didn't compare it to Petavariana. I don't know if Petavariana has a genitalia description, to be honest. So that might be the issue, but yeah, no. So the description is fairly sound. It might not be a valid species, but I think it probably is. But, yeah. Which, you know, Ingo Fritsch, I don't know, Fritsch, I assume Fritsch is probably how it's pronounced. But that guy, you know, described the area Bernhardti, and I don't know if he was the one to collect them. I kind of assume he was. And then named him after Jorg. But he also is the one who described the area Irreperta. I'm pretty sure. And it's like, you brought Bernhardti in the hobby. Why didn't you bring the Irreperta as well? Come on. What the heck? Would have been cool to have another long-winged species in the hobby. That's what we need to do. We need to organize a trip to Madagascar to collect a bunch of hissers, and then we need to go to India to collect all the Daria. There are a lot of the Daria that aren't in the hobby yet. Including those undescribed ones with like just literally just the two orange spots on their tegmenta. They look like the roach equivalent of the twice-stabbed ladybugs. I want those so badly. Okay. Is that... spray that a little bit more. Alright, and then I will be right back. Eucardia. Let's see. Eyes? No. They did. They did what? Forget what part of the conversation I was referring to. Oh, described Daria Reperta, yeah. Oh no, you're talking about that was in reference to the describing the Bernhardi genitalia, yeah. I forgot. I got a bunch of subadult Eucardia Yasumatsui, so these guys better start maturing soon again. Oh wait, and I need dog food. And some B Pro artificial pollen. I like giving that to a lot of my Corridids. It seems to make them grow faster. Usually I give it to my Aranavaga too. Just a really easy to consume form of protein for the nymphs. And the adults probably like it too. Since the adults actually are pellinivores. My Eucardia Dacitoides that I've been waiting for these forever. Finally got some. Actually, these aren't gonna eat fruit at this stage. That in. Oh man. Yeah, again, those Eustogas to be Prestoides and Eucardia Dacitoides is probably my highlight of my year so far. And still got more stuff coming this year. Some stuff that might stuff that I've been wanting for a long time as well. That's definitely gonna be exciting, but just the amount of times that I have tried getting these two species, definitely very satisfying to have finally acquired them this year. So I'm pretty happy with my progress this year in terms of what I've been able to get into the hobby in general, not even just my collection. But yeah, so it's been a good year. Been a good year for me. Alright. Hopefully 2024 is going to be even crazier. How? I don't know. But I can hope. Maybe I'll finally get Archiblatta in 2024. That'd be my goals. Archiblatta and Darsocera. those are my two main things I want for this coming year. But yeah, those are both. There's the Sarah. Alright. Bye, Alan. Thanks for dropping by. The Tharsa Sarah, like, there's a person who sells them. There's really only one person who's selling them currently in the world. And they're selling them, I think it's like $100 per nymph. Yeah, per tiny unsexed nymph, they were charging $100 per nymph. And that's just absolutely crazy. For that species. For how fast they breed. Like, they're blatted, you know, and they're not the most difficult to keep blatted either, so they breed at a relatively steady rate. Aren't super difficult, and yet he's charging way too much for them. And because of that, even though that guy ships worldwide, not even anyone in Europe has been able to afford to buy a proper size starter colony and thus get a colony established from him, which is kind of crappy. So that pricing has like bottlenecked the availability of that species for a very long time. But it's a very pretty species. The Arcocera spectabilis, very stunning coloration on those. Black and yellow adults. And then the nymphs are red, black, and yellow. Like, they got some crazy colors on them. But, yeah, that guy has kind of impeded their spread in the hobby, so. But, God, if I could get those next year, that'd be awesome. That would be amazing. Those and Archibald. My next two goals. These I will feed afterwards. My metallic Paris Ferris, which I've given them this big old flower to use as their food bowl for their protein sources, which I think is working. They didn't seem to be eating any of the protein that I was feeding them when it was in a food bowl, but using the flour as kind of a food bowl, artificial flour, seems to be working better in that regard. I think they're eating more protein, but hard to tell. These guys are kind of frustrating me a little bit. They're not. The females aren't getting that plump, and neither are the nymphs. Not 100% sure whether it's humidity related, diet related, whether they need more airflow too could be another thing. But I'm trying not to give them too much airflow because I don't want to dehydrate them, because they like very high air humidity. So, bit of trial and error with these guys, but I'm hoping I'll get them figured out, because I really want metallic roly-poly roaches breeding in the hobby. So, we'll see. And 5K. Okay. Yeah, these need watered. Yeah, today is also, not today, this year has also been like a stellar year for Arenovaga in the hobby. Like, my god, the amount of new species that have entered culture and that are being spread around now. I've got like a dozen maybe like 15 different strains of Aranavaga now. Like just a few years ago, you were lucky if there were like 3 or 4 Aranavaga species / strains in the hobby at any given time. So, and that's thanks due in big part to Ellen and Kyle catching them and getting them established and sourcing them. So, yeah, props to them. We got a lot more Native American sandwiches in the hobby, which is awesome. Those are some of my favorites. These need water. Finally getting adults from these Aranavaga Boliana. I think Bolin, Texas is the locality for these. Somewhere in Texas. Kyle sent them to me fairly recently, and I've already got adults, which is awesome. So they should start breeding here soon. Get another Boliana. That's 3. I have 3 localities of Boliana now, so I think that's good. I think I don't need any more Boliana after this. I'll be pretty content. But yeah, always nice to have different localities. Alrighty. Pseudoglomerus tarsalis. Yeah, they seem to be enjoying the cork bark. Hopefully these Pseudoglomerus tarsalis actually breed for me this time. It's kind of ironic that I'm doing pretty well with most of the Magnifica strains I have. And then I failed with tarsalis, which are supposed to be like way easier. But yeah, hopefully this go around with like better setup for them, they should actually breed. Yeah, they're you can't see them due to the side of the enclosure, but there's a bunch of them nestled between the bark and the plastic. It's just the solid black species of Pseudoglomerus, but they're cool. They got like little golden pubescence on the underside of their last abdominal segment, so it's like they have blonde pubes, basically. Which is so weird. It's a weird place to have hair on a roach. For seemingly no reason. Yeah. And then they have the little golden, their feet are golden too. So they're cute little species. Asterisk punctatus have been doing like so-and-so for the past few months. It's like I've been getting a few broods out of them, you know. They're doing okay, but it's like they're not breeding nearly as well as they have been the past couple generations. I'm not exactly sure why. I think these I also started adding more ventilation to their enclosure for some reason, and that may have been overdoing it a bit, so I might have to hot glue gun some of these ventilation holes closed and raise the air humidity a bit, and that might get them breathing better. Alternatively, I could keep them more humid just overall, but they don't seem to like their hides becoming too damp. So, gotta love the trial and error, right? I really just need to go ahead and build the humidifier that I've been planning on putting together, but I've been too lazy and too busy to get that done. But I really need to do that. Get this room's air humidity up so that it'll be hot and humid. It's like most people that I talk to, like they hate high air humidity when it's warm. They hate hot and humid conditions. I much prefer humid heat to dry heat. I don't know why. Everyone says dry heat's better. It feels so much more hot when it's humid, but I feel the opposite. It feels like you're in an oven when there's a dry heat here in the summer in Idaho. And it gets like to the hundreds here pretty regularly during the summer, and it's like so dry. You feel like you're in an oven. I much prefer higher humidity. Like I remember living in Florida as a kid, and that high humidity and high heat, you know, I loved it. I never once complained about how hot it was over there. But here, ugh, so dry. And it affects the bugs too, but most insects I keep, they prefer a higher air humidity level as well, so, you know. Eventually, I'm gonna get that humidifier built, and this room's gonna be one nice jungle. This real quick. Alright. I think I'm going to cut the stream off here because I got like 5 more enclosures to do on this shelf, and then I'm probably going to bed. And my water is almost out, so I'm gonna have to refill it before finishing those enclosures. So instead of getting out of here, filling the water up, then coming back, you know, I'm just gonna cut the stream off here. But thank you everyone for watching. Had a great turnout this time. 10 people at one time. Wow, that's crazy. Thanks guys. I appreciate you listening to me rambling. And yeah, if you guys want to see more of this type of content, let me know. I've been thinking about doing some like care videos, but joke care videos, like legitimate care information, but presented in an attempt to be humorous fashion. I don't know. This is something I've been considering, but that would take a significant amount of time and effort. And I don't know if anyone would watch it, but I've been considering that, so that might be coming to the channel at some point, at least one, and see if anyone likes it. I think that could be funny, but yeah, so thanks everyone for stopping by, and I will see you on another maintenance stream in the future, probably. Alright, see ya.